Choose for yourselves this day who you're going to serve. Several weeks ago, we looked at the people who were opposed to the rebuilding of the walls and the gates of Jerusalem. You remember that? And those people worshiped those particular gods, and those opposition that came was directly connected to the worship of those gods. Well, in America today, we clearly see the worship of pleasure, the worship of power, and the worship of people. That's a good way to describe America. We worship pleasure, power, and people. Now, the forms and the displays of that worship we see in our music, we see it in our entertainment, we see it in social agendas. Everything from abortion to gay pride parades, they're all forms of worship. They're just repeating ancient rituals and practices that have taken place for centuries to honor and serve various gods and demonic spirits. I'm not advocating bashing of anybody who's gay, anybody who's had an abortion, or anybody that's committed a crime. Because to be honest with you, our church pews have been filled with people who are loaded down with the guilt of these sins in their lives. And they're sitting in church. My wife and I have embraced and ministered to people who have had abortions, practicing lesbians, to those who had promiscuous lifestyles, heterosexual but promiscuous, and even to those guilty of molestation. We've had to be silent for a lot of years on the things that we know about people and that they've done. But we have learned to embrace them. Why? You see, we have not only stood in the gap for the people who are victims, but we also had to learn how to stand in the gap for the people who were perpetrators, because they need help too. One of my brothers was gay, and before he died, we told him that we loved him, and we cried bitterly at his funeral. And on this, I'd like to add a little note. So please don't tell me that we don't know how to love a sinner and hate to sin. A lot of people say that from the world. Well, ain't no such thing as loving a sinner and hating a sin. Well, no. Parents have to do it all the time. Ain't that right, parents? You love your children, you hate what they do, but it don't stop your love for them. So that's one of those things the world will never understand, and I don't expect them to. So here's the real issue for us today. They will say things like, the Bible says we're all born in sin, and we all have some issue that has been a part of our makeup. I know that there's a popular song out there today that says you were born this way. The world has embraced that as an anthem right now. I was born this way. But that's why Jesus said you must be born again. I don't deny it. You're right. You were born this way. They're right. That's why I said there are certain things that the world says, and they are right. You were born that way. But that's why Jesus said you must be born again. Just because you were born that way don't mean you have to stay that way. That's the truth that the enemy of your soul doesn't want you to come to. He don't want you to know that. So the issue for us today is that the Bible tells me to love people while they are that way. Now that's the tough part for us in the church. Because we think that if we love them while they're that way, that it means you are endorsing them. But it doesn't mean you're endorsing them. I'm just doing what Jesus did. I'm doing what God did for us. While we were yet sinners, Christ died. He didn't wait for none of us to change first. He didn't wait for none of us even to promise to change first. While we were yet sinners. So he calls us to that same type of love. Which means, we got to do that radical stuff like actually don't shun somebody on your job that you know that they had an abortion or that they are gay. Don't shun them. Yeah, but all the other folks on the job who know that I'm saved gonna think that I'm approving of their lifestyle. I don't care what they think. I got an assignment. Remember, I'm so in love with the Lord. Remember what he said? Serve the Lord. I'm so in love. Fear the Lord. I fear the Lord. I'm more concerned with what he thinks. That's why I played that first video. This woman said, you just get to the point? She said she was oblivious to everybody else. I'm doing what God told me to do. God told me to brush this man's hair. I'm doing it. God tells you to embrace somebody that is so completely different and opposite from us, then you do it. Because I don't care about what the church world thinks. I'm on an assignment. God said to love them.